Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Surro, and welcome to the Validating Podcast, a radio show that strives to make any listener smile. Each episode features a new guest who will share what makes them unique. Filled with fun games, exciting questions, and inspiring stories, this podcast is aimed towards encouraging anyone to be happy and confident with who they are. As always, comments are encouraged and positivity is always appreciated. For now, let's sit back, relax, and get on with this week's episode. I hope you all enjoy the Validating Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Validating Podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 1, and I know, yes, Season 2 was only like 5 episodes or so, but it's a new year, so I'm calling it a new season. I have 2 new friends to share with you guys today. I'm so excited for both of them to be here. They're fairly new friends, and it's only been like a year or so, but it feels like so much longer because of all the memories and fun I've had with these two. The first is a super sweet person, very genuine, down to earth, and always tries to spread positivity in the only way she knows how. She's just so smiley every time I get to interact with her, and everyone around her is also positive because of the way she radiates positivity. It's so fun to watch. She's creative and she's confident, and I'm so excited for her to be on this podcast. And she is Abby.
Hello.
Hi, Abby. Welcome to the podcast. So good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Good. I'm so excited to be here. Should we introduce our next guest?
We absolutely should. I think so.
Here we go. So our next guest is another, I didn't even say, Abby created the Mac Believers, which is the improv group on campus at Merrimack College. And this next guest was also a part of the Mac Believers when she went to Merrimack. So that's kind of how we all met through that club. And she is another very sweet, down-to-earth person that I really know when she's listening to the person that she's talking to. She's always nodding along, always trying to contribute in a meaningful way. And Abby, I don't know if you remember this, but one of the first things you said about Krista when you introduced her was that she's so smart, like too smart for improv, because she is. Something like that, because she just, beyond anything I could ever imagine, she's so
intelligent.
Smart, academically focused and motivated. She's even in her PhD program right now, which is beyond anything I could ever imagine. So we're so proud of all that she does, and she is Krista.
Hello.
Hi, Krista. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
Of course. Okay, so the first thing I want you guys to do, because I obviously know you pretty well at this point, but for anyone that's watching that doesn't know you, I want you to kind of give an elevator pitch of who you are just as a person. Abby, you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, I'm Abby. I'm a senior at Merrimack. I did start the Mac Believers Improv Club, so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I love theater. I've done theater since I was, I'd say, like 9 or so. It's one of the biggest things about me. I'm an elementary ed major, so I love teaching. I've been teaching since I was about 14 in like the theater realm. I love Disney. I'm a huge Disney geek, huge theater geek, if you couldn't already tell that. And yeah, I just love hanging out with friends and stuff. And yeah.
Awesome. Krista, go ahead.
So I'm Krista. I am a first-year PhD student at Northeastern, and I've been described different ways. I've been described a glutton for pain, which was fun. But I think I probably describe myself as somebody who loves both left and right brain activities. I spend most of my day in my left brain, so usually all of my free time is committed to right brain activities, whether that be acting, writing, singing, art, anything you can imagine.
Yeah. That's so fun. I think we all share this in common where we like care about our schoolwork, obviously as future teachers, me and Abby, but also you, Krista, getting your PhD. We all care about the schoolwork, but we also want to have fun too. Like we don't want to just be consumed with the work. So we have fun too. Yeah, for sure. I want to ask just broadly, how are you guys doing? And I mean that in so broad because a lot of times we just say, good, how are you? But I want the like real authentic answer. So Krista, how are you?
I would say that I'm in a pretty solid place right now. Just had my midterms, so I feel a little bit better about moving through those. Physically, this morning I was a little tired because there was a lot of shoveling, but then I was able to have some buffalo cauliflower, and that kind of helped. So for the most part, I've been doing pretty well. I've been on top of things, and just have a lot juggling right now, but I feel like I've been juggling it pretty well. So I feel good.
Awesome. Good to hear. And Abby, how are you?
You know what? I think I'm a lot better. I just went through like a really super stressful time with student teaching. I mean, getting started with that is always stressful, but I was in kind of like a teaching situation and then I had to leave that.
Yeah.
So it was like really stressful, but I feel like this week I've kind of been able to get myself together and I feel like I'm in a much better place.
Yeah. That's good to hear. Yeah, I think that teaching in any profession really has its ups and downs for sure. And it's hard when you are a student teacher because you're still learning everything at this point, right? It's not like you're kind of thrown into it almost. And then, especially with your situation, you were really thrown into it and then you had to take a step back, which I think was the right choice. Like, I think that you knew what you had to do, right?
No, 100%. And, you know, you think you know a decent amount, and then you actually go into the field and you're like, oh, wait, never mind. I should probably figure this out more.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, but unfortunately, your first year of teaching is more learning. So get ready for that.
You know, I've heard that from everyone, so that's so valid.
Good. As long as you're ready.
We actually had a saying in my class where it would be the more that you learn, you realize the less that you know.
Accurate.
That is so valid.
I love it. Very philosophical. I love it. Speaking of stress, we talked about it a little bit. Let's put it on a scale because that's how my brain works. So on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say 1 is like super stressed out, the most stressed you've ever been, and then 10 is like all excitement and no stress at all. Where do you lie on that scale? Abby, go first.
I'd give it either like a 5 or a 6.
Yeah.
Because I'm so excited I got out of that situation. I feel like the last couple weeks I was at like a 2. I was like very stressed. Yeah. But right now I just have to get some like paperwork stuff done for school, so that's a little stressful. But I feel like I'm again like in a lot better place. So I think like a 5 or a 6, I'd say.
Good answer, Krista.
I would say probably a 7. Like Abby, probably if you asked me earlier this week, it would be a much lower number. But I got through a lot of like the more stressful things that were going on this week. So I feel better. Also, I'm on break next week, so I have more time for anything that might be causing additional stress. It's not within that constrained time frame.
Yeah. Totally. I am always a solid 5. I feel like mainly because I'm indecisive, but also like I always have so much stress and so much excitement that it's like I'm just right in the middle. But
it's just a big like mix of all the feelings.
Totally. Exactly. But I'm also a little bit more excited today, especially because you guys are here and I get to talk with my best friends. So yeah. Let's talk about like what makes you you. So you kind of talked about it in your introductions, but a little bit more like what makes you unique, kind of stand out of a crowd a little bit more. Krista, you start if you're ready.
Sure. So I think kind of I mentioned a little bit in my introduction, but I think like I've always had this firm mindset of, I guess it's probably a little bit stubbornness, which is also a little bit a part of me, but I never wanted to be defined by one thing. So like, for instance, I'm going for PhD and I'm very much a science person, but I don't want that to be the only thing that defines me. So I think that's why I'm kind of adamant that I hold on to these other interests. It's not just like this little thing on the side. It's all core parts of my personality, and I don't want to necessarily betray one just in favor of the other if I can. So I just think that's kind of an important part of myself of like, it's not overworking, it's representing myself as a whole person.
I love that clarification that it's not overworking yourself, because I think a lot of people have that kind of conceived notion of like, oh, they're doing too much at once, they are going to get burnt out and stuff like that. But you need it. Like, it's just part of who you are, like you said. And you don't want to just do one thing. You want to do everything. So that's awesome. Abby, how do you define yourself?
Well, I think one of the biggest things about myself is I've always been somewhat confident, mostly because I feel like I'm always guided by the things that I love. If I do something, it's because I'm 110% in on it. It's something that I want to do. I'm excited about it. I'm ready to go. And I feel like sometimes like that leads to a lot of like confidence, because like I'm always doing things that I feel really good about. Well, not like always, you know, we always do things that are not our favorite, but I think most of the time I feel really good about the decisions I make, and I take time to make sure that I do things in a way that I'm happy with, and that's just led to a little bit more like confidence in that sense.
That's incredible. I think confidence is so hard for a lot of people, especially going through college, because it's like so many hurdles are coming at you at different directions and stuff like that. So confidence with yourself, enough to kind of branch out a little bit and meet new people, is very difficult. So I think we're the 3 of us are either done with college or we're nearing the end of the college process. So like we're kind of confident now. But if you're a little freshman that's about to join the college force, don't feel like you have to be confident right away, right?
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. But I'm proud of you both for getting to that point where you feel like confident enough to do that. And Abby, especially, like I said, like you were confident enough to create an improv group. You were confident enough to do like the on stage productions. Like so much of what you've done was from your confidence. So that's awesome that you've been able to do that stuff.
Thanks.
Of course. And then talking about validation, because it is the validating podcast. So I always ask my guests, like, what does validating mean to you? Because everyone I ask has had a different definition or example. So you don't really have to define it necessarily, but just think of like, what do you think of when you think of validation? And I'll leave it up to you guys. Who wants to go first on that one?
I can go first.
You go, Queen.
Okay. So I think that probably validation, like a lot of things tie back into, I guess, that self-view and kind of like Abby, a little bit what you're talking about with confidence. So I would feel validation is probably more of like someone just respecting maybe how I'm representing myself and sort of just, yeah, that how I'm identifying. Because I feel like growing up, I had a lot of times different perceptions that people had of me put onto me. So I kind of felt within that box. So when I was able to go to college, I kind of was able to release a lot of those perceptions because growing up, I didn't necessarily have the most confidence. I had a little bit of a softer voice. So it was something that I carried around with me and wasn't a negative thing, but it made it harder to kind of then validate myself as far as what I was feeling. So as I was gaining more confidence, I was still pigeonholed into this idea. So I think when I reached college and when people were starting to be like, oh my gosh, yeah, you did a great job with that, or you're doing this or that, it felt validating to me for other people to finally see me the way that I was seeing myself, but wasn't necessarily allowing myself to be represented. And then that kind of grew into a continued confidence and a growing of, well, I should just represent myself however I want. So that also is just that self-validation.
Very well said. Nice. Thanks, Krista. And Abby, what about you?
Beautiful, poetic, Krista.
I know, right?
I think that validating to me is a lot about feeling heard. Most of my life is centered around working with kids. So my examples generally revolve around that kind of things. And I feel like a lot of times when I've worked with kids, the thing they want most is just to feel like they're heard. And the way that they feel validated is by knowing that someone is listening to, not only listening to them, but taking their thoughts and ideas seriously.
Yeah.
Because as easy as it is to kind of shrug like kids off, or even anyone really, it's not as easy as it is to kind of shrug off the emotions of others, really truly like seeking to listen to like understand rather than listening to like give advice often can be really helpful, especially if a person is struggling with like feeling heard in that way. So I think really that's the big thing about validation.
Yeah, I love it. It's so well said. Also, like I agree to both of you. Like I think you said very different things, but also the tone is the same. Like that we should listen non-judgmentally, just kind of with an open mind. And then you might have advice, you might have something to add to it, but a lot of it is just kind of listening and making sure that they feel heard and understood, like Abby was saying. So that's awesome. Good. Do you guys want to get into the first game?
Sure.
Let's do it. So the first game is called Who Knows Me Best? So the way this game works, I played it like years ago with one of my friends where I created questions about myself. So it's a little self-centered, but I think it's fun because you guys don't know everything about me yet. So it's like a good way to learn something about me, but in like a game show type way. So it's like my lifelong dream of becoming a game show host, little by little, you know. But anyway, yeah, that's my backup plan if teaching doesn't work out. But anyway,
that's awesome.
It also would never work out. But anyway, so the way it works is that Krista and Abby are going to get the same question, but they can only get multiple choice if they both agree on it. So say if Abby knows the answer right away, but Krista's struggling, Abby might just say, like, I know it, so it sucks to be Krista, you know? Like, obviously you're not being like that, but I'm just giving an example. But like
verbatim, Abby would say that.
That is actually something I would say.
I don't know.
Jokingly, of course.
Yeah. So I guess it depends on the situation, but I made them like not super easy, but not super hard, I hope. So I guess we'll just kind of see where it goes. And like I said, if you want multiple choice, just ask for it, but the other person, it's up to the other person. All right, question number 1. How many semesters, not years, semesters of experience have I had with improv before joining Mac Believers? So the semester I did with improv and Merrimack did not count because I had prior experience, but how many semesters of experience did I have?
What would you like to do, Krista?
Choices?
I'd like to find out. No. um, I am not confident in the answer I would give, Abby. I don't know if you're confident.
I think this is a multiple choice round. I agree.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. A, 1, B, 2, C, 3, or D, 7.
Hmm.
Did that help?
Hopefully.
Well, it was different than the answer I was going to give, so yeah.
Oh, okay. Good to know. And then once you lock in your answers, don't show it just yet because I want to make it dramatic and like flip when we both have an answer. Locked in?
I think.
Locked in.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, reveal. 2 and two different answers. Okay. So Abby says 2 semesters. Krista says
I should have done the number. I should have done the
No, it's okay.
That was fun.
Do you want to know the answer?
Yeah.
The answer is 1 semester of improv experience.
That's actually astonishing. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That is astonishing.
Thank you. It was.
I was gonna say 8. So
were you? Oh my gosh! Yeah, no way.
I was. Be honest. I remember you coming to open. Did you come to open rehearsal or just auditions?
Open rehearsal.
Okay, because I remember you coming, and I remember all of us being like, "Who is this man? And will he audition?" And
yeah, it was like an automatic yes.
You remember this, Krista? Yeah, when you showed up. Yes.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Thank you. I remember being nervous about it because, like I said, I didn't have that much experience, but like it was enough to like inspire me to want to do more. So I was like, I'm just gonna check out open rehearsal because I love that you guys do that because it's such a like informal way of meeting the people and seeing what it's all about without auditions stressing you out. So I was like, I'm just gonna see how that goes first, and that went pretty well. Like I had the same experience of like obviously I didn't know how I was gonna get in, but I felt like good about what I did, which was awesome. And I met you guys, which was like super nice, and everyone that was there was like awesome. I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to audition. So I'm glad that we had similar thoughts there.
No, we were so excited. I just remember that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good story. And it's funny that you say that because I could have done 8 semesters if I really wanted to, but I was a nervous freshman. Like when I first joined college, I was like, I just needed to do courses and not even theater. I didn't do anything the first year because I was just too nervous. And then improv, especially because it is one of those things that you put yourself out there in like a vulnerable way. So I was like, I don't know just yet. So I had to wait until my junior year. And I was like, I'm going to do it. No questions, just go for it. So I did it. And then COVID hit. So then I had 1 semester of good improv, but then everything.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
What the heck?
But it all works out, I think. Number 2. Let's see if one of you gets it right. I don't know. I'm like a little sassy today. I don't know why.
That's okay.
Go off.
What kind of school do I work at?
I'm trying to think of
like. Like what? Like, can you try and clarify? Maybe
I can just say like either if it's preschool or like an elementary school or a middle school or high school. Yeah. So those are your choices. There. I was like, it's a public school.
I'm going to be really upset.
I know, right?
That would be embarrassing for me. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I just lied to you this whole time leading up to today. So
no,
gaslighting us.
Just for the game. Yeah.
Just for this game specifically.
So I think probably, I assume, Abby, you feel good about this. I feel like I do.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, reveal. Elementary, second grade, Krista with an extra point. Okay. You don't get an extra point, but that's correct.
We were just talking about
I did also know that, but I wasn't going there, Krista.
I know. So you guys get 1 point each. Good job. All right, you're on the board. Okay, going random. What is my favorite food at Thanksgiving dinner? Of course, think about all that's offered at Thanksgiving, and I have a certain one that's my favorite of all time.
You going multiple choice, Krista?
Like, I feel like I know an answer. Don't know if it's the right answer, so I'm fine going multiple choice.
Let's do it.
Okay. We have turkey, we have mashed potatoes, we have stuffing, and we have cranberry sauce.
So many good options.
I know, right?
I feel like I remember you mentioning it, but I'm struggling to remember what it was.
That's funny. Yeah.
because I feel like it was like a whole conversation during one of the rehearsals, and everybody was chiming in with their answers. So I'm trying to pick out which one was yours.
Right.
Thanksgiving food conversation recently in rehearsal too, like this semester.
Oh,
Don't remember
that's
what it was
random.
about. It was so weird. Always
We're just stalling for time.
I know. We're both like,
When I was 6, no.
Yeah.
When I was a child, I loved stuffing.
When I was allowed.
I feel like I want to change. I'm going to change.
Oh no, change.
Okay.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, reveal. Stuffing, and see which was stuffing, right?
I need to write the letters.
No, it's fine. Either way. You're both wrong again.
No.
Abby, what
Was
did
it
you change it from?
cranberry
I'm so curious.
Mashed potatoes.
Oh, it was mashed potatoes, yes.
No!
That was my first thought, and then I just was all over the place.
But that's my favorite. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know if I have personal bias here.
True. Go with your gut. That's my advice. Go with your gut.
Fair enough.
Okay, nice try. Here we go. Number 4. This is also kind of random. I recently flown by myself on a plane. So I've flown many times before with my family and with friends and stuff, but recently I went by myself on a plane for the first time. Where did I travel to? What state?
I know this.
Ooh, okay.
I think we talked about this when
Yeah,
we got
probably did. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Krista.
Don't you mean sucks to be you, Krista?
Sucks to be you, Krista. No.
It's so sad because I remember you posting about it.
Yeah, true. I was very. Yeah.
I remember the plane.
Yeah, I'll give you a point if you know the airline.
That I'm.
You can try to ask Abby for choices if she's willing.
No, Abby's got that devilish look on her face. She's not doing it.
I'll be benevolent. I'll let you get your options.
Now I'm second guessing myself.
No, don't second guess. What did we just talk about?
Okay, all right. Unless it's wrong.
Yeah, true.
But all right. All right. At least it was on.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, reveal. Florida, Southwest, question mark. It is Florida. You guys got it right. Nice job.
Oh my god. Okay. I had that written down.
That's fair enough. Okay. I was taking a shot in the dark on that one.
Yeah, that's fine. Good. Every morning when I wake up, I spend a certain amount of time on a social media app. And you don't need to guess how long I spend. It's like 30 minutes or so. But what social media app do I use every single morning without fail?
Ooh.
Because I like a lot of social media, but there's one that I always check every single morning. Without fail.
I think I have it.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, reveal. Instagram, you're both right. Correct. Nice job.
Yay.
1 point each.
Krista, we are doing well.
We are 3 points. I still have yet to download TikTok because I'm afraid if I do, I will be obsessed with it. So
especially teacher TikTok, you will be addicted.
I figured, yeah. I could never. Moving right along to a theater related question.
Ooh.
In my undergrad, I was a certain backstage role, if you will, like a label that I was like, I loved it. I did it almost every time I could. I would always try to go for it because it just like was what I loved to do. So what was that backstage position that I loved to do?
I think I want to go multiple choice on this one, Krista. What do you think?
I wrote something down, but I'll do multiple choice. Just because you.
Oh, you're so kind, Krista.
Kind Krista. A, director. B, stage manager. C, tech director. D, production assistant.
I'm going with my gut.
Good. You're learning. You ready? 3, 2, 1, reveal. Director, stage manager. We have a difference. And I have to say, one of you is right. Krista is right. She got it.
Yes.
That was my second
When
one.
you talking about that,
Yep.
I was like, I know it, and I wrote it down, and I was so glad it was an option.
Yes.
Although the production assistant made me nervous, I was like, I could see you doing that.
Yes, I actually did that in high school once. I never did it in college, but it was a fun one because I literally could do anything I wanted, like obviously to help out, but like there was no definition of what I had to do. It was just kind of like wherever I needed, I could help out. So yeah.
That's cool.
It was fun. Okay, so Krista is leading 4-3, and there's one more question left. I didn't prepare a tiebreaker, but in the off chance that Abby does win the point and Krista doesn't, I'll have to come up with one on the Here we go. What year in high school did I start growing? Because you guys know me as a pretty tall man, I would say. But in high school, I know it's very random. But in high school, I started to grow like rapidly at 1 year in my high school career.
Oh.
And the options are freshman, sophomore.
Yeah.
Well.
Or my 5th year of high school. No.
Or 8th grade. No.
Yeah. I can't do
that.
Do we have answers?
I was the opposite.
Double check spelling. Hang on.
Spelling. Just do a number.
Oh, then we probably have the same answer then.
Oh, okay.
3, 2, 1, reveal. Sophomore. You're both incorrect.
Oh
no!
Let's give it a second chance. I'm not going to reveal. Now you have 3 options.
Ooh.
3, 2, 1, reveal. Junior. You're both incorrect again. It was senior year of high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was so fascinating because I felt like I was like 5'2" for so long. And 5'2" is not a bad height. It's kind of short. But then I was like, I still want to be taller. And then I just right up.
I was going to say, that's crazy.
Yes, it is crazy. If you see my senior photo, which I probably don't want to share because it's so embarrassing, but I literally look like a 10-year-old in my senior photo. So there's that. But with that, Krista has won. Who knows me best? Nice job, Krista.
Yes, Krista. Woo!
But close behind was Abby, so nice job, Abby. Our next game is less of a competition, so hopefully we can work together on this one. It's called Amicable Association. So the way this works, it's an improv game, I think, because you have to think on the fly, but I don't think I've ever played it on stage. But it's where we have a conversation, and it could be like characters or just ourselves, depending on where it goes. But I'm going to start the first one. So whatever I say, the last word in my sentence will be Abby's first word. And then Abby will say a response that has to do with what I just said, but using that first word. And then she's going to say something, and Chris's first word will be Abby's last word. And then we'll just go around and around as much as we can without like just completely crumbling. So we're going to see where it goes. I played it once before and it went pretty well. It was like kind of iffy, but we made it work. Does that make sense? Did I explain it okay? Yeah. Okay. So I'll just play it and see what happens. So Abby, I wanted to tell you the story about how I lost my foot.
Foot is a weird thing to lose. I mean, I'm very interested to see how this story goes.
Goes away, you mean? Because I saw it floating down the creek.
Creek, exactly. That's where I was. I was at the top of the creek, and it was there's the little statue. You know what I mean?
Mean statues, like ones that are like pointing, or like nice ones that are like posing very prettily. Oh no! Oh, so sorry.
Prettily poses isn't exactly how I would describe it. I mean, it was a pretty gruesome scene for everybody watching it.
The clown was not an appearance, actually. So that's interesting that you say that. My good cousin, though, I forget his name. It was something that rhymes with a P, I think. Do you remember?
Remembering a name that starts with P. Could be like Penelope or Princeton or something like that.
That would ring a bell if I had remembered anything past second grade, but I can't say I could.
Could you remind me of your name?
Name for me is Abby, but I don't know what the next person's name is.
Is my name Krista? The world may or may not know in the coming sentences.
Sentences, words, paragraphs. What are we even talking about at this point in the game?
Games are so fun, but I thought we were talking about your foot and or how you lost that foot. So I would love to hear more about it.
It is a rather long story, but I suppose after it floated down the creek, then it ended up in some ditch that everybody was trying to fill with random objects. And I don't know how much more I can say about that.
That is a good point. I also don't remember much because I was bleeding and my vision was going blurry and I couldn't really speak words properly, and I'm not feeling too great.
Great. So I guess we'll have to do something else then. Well, we should plan a trip together. Where would you guys like to go?
Go without all of our feet, I think that would be a rather troublesome journey, but I guess if you think it can work, we can try.
Try we will. But I might have to hobble around as, again, my foot is down the creek elsewhere and I have not seen it since.
Since you no longer have a foot to walk on, perhaps we could like attach a roller skate to the stump where your foot formerly was, and that would be a decent way to get around.
Around with only a roller skate attached to the stump is certainly something that would horrify all the children living on this block, but it's something that other people would pay to see.
See, that's a good point too, because children get scared easily. So we don't want to scare them too quickly because we want to be friends with the children.
Children are decent friends. I mean, they're kind of broke, but you know, they're all right. I enjoy their company.
Company is a great musical to take these children so that they will not be frightened by all of this gruesomeness, but instead will be frightened by the expectance of your birthdays coming up and everybody being excited and will forget about you missing your foot.
Yeah, we'll end it there. Nice job. All right, not bad. I love that we kind of had run-on sentences, but it fit perfectly, I thought. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
Better than I expected. What did you guys think? Hard, easy? Not too bad?
I felt bad because I kept screwing Krista over because I would forget that she had to use the last word.
I know.
I'm so sorry,
It
Krista.
kind of felt like the alphabet game where
Yes.
it was like sometimes you just feel like you're trying to survive.
Mhm.
You're not even thinking of like the story anymore. You're just
Yeah.
like, oh, just get it off of me. I'm nervous. Like, but I didn't think it went that bad. We came back together on what
Yeah.
was going on.
Yeah, I loved it because when we got off track of the foot thing, I forget who said it, but it was just like, maybe we should talk about the foot again because that's how it started. That was perfect.
I love that Krista wanted to take the children to Company the Musical. Arguably one of
You
the
said-
worst shows.
You said company, and I was like, let me just use it in another way.
Yep.
Well, that was really creative. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, that was funny. Okay, so the game that I have next is called Evolution of Emotion. And it's less of a game than more just like a conversation, but I think it'll be fun to kind of walk down memory lane a little bit because as we talked about, Abby created the Mac Believers, and that's how I met you two at least. And I want to talk about when it first started because I think that must have been like a big moment for you, Abby. So I kind of want to talk to you about that first, and then Krista, I'll ask you the next question about how you kind of like tied into it. So Abby, you start.
Yeah. So a lot of it started because I transferred colleges actually after my first semester freshman year. I went to Wheaton College in Norton, Mass.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a group down there called the Dimple Divers. And I didn't get into their like fall shows or any of the theater programming for the fall. And I was going to audition anyway for the improv troupe. I'd been doing improv since I was like 12. I took a lot of classes at my local theater.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of like the last thing, and I was really homesick at that point. So I was like, this is the last thing I'm doing. And then if I don't get in, I'm like, whatever, I'm going to get through the semester and then transfer. And I ended up getting in. There were 40 auditionees, and I was one of 3.
Wow.
And that got in. It was crazy. It was really exciting. But that group pretty much saved that semester for me. They were like the kindest, sweetest people. And I had such a blast being in rehearsal with them. And then I came to Merrimack, and I was really missing that kind of group on campus. And I have so many friends for the Onstagers, who's that's the theater company.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible. Huge group, and they are so wonderful. But I really wanted a space like the one I created that was a little more intimate in the sense that it was smaller. So you really got to know the people that you were doing things with. And improv is such an intimate medium in terms of like physicality. And it is, like you said earlier, it's very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So you really get comfortable and close with people quickly.
Yeah.
So I really wanted that kind of group to exist. And I talked to Kathleen Sills, who's the theater director at Merrimack. She's the best. I love Kathleen. Pop off, Kathleen.
Shout out.
And we made it happen, and it's been incredible. So,
were there any like nerves or skeptical? Like, were you nervous that it wasn't going to happen, or were you pretty sure like once you get the ball rolling, it was just going to happen?
Oh, definitely. There were a lot of nerves involved with it. You needed to have a minimum number of members in order to even be considered. So I was so nervous that like nobody cared but me about it. And like, I was like, oh, well, maybe this is just something that I wanted. And it's not like a Merrimack thing. I'm like, maybe it doesn't work in Merrimack for some reason. Like maybe the community is different kind of thing. And thankfully I had so many friends within the theater space that it ended up being the complete opposite. I had a lot of turnout, and we ended up starting to having to do auditions because we got a lot of people, and it was really great. So I did have so many fears about it, but a lot of them were dispelled once everything got rolling.
That's awesome. Good to hear. And Krista, I wanted to know, what was your perspective on it? Because I know you guys have been friends for a while, but did you know that Abby was creating this club, or was it new to you? Like, walk us through that kind of process.
Well, when Abby started it, she was like, hey, be on my e-board. And I was like, okay, I had never done improv before that point. I think I only did it. It was kind of involved in an audition I did my freshman year, but that was like the only time I'd ever done a little bit of it. So that was kind of new to me, but I was like, you know what, it'll be fun. I feel like it's a really good way to work on your acting. And then it's also just involving yourself with like a new group of people, because I will say not necessarily there's an entire intersection between theater and improv people. There are people who you wouldn't necessarily think would be doing improv, but they don't do theater. So that was just kind of nice to just involve yourself like with extra people and also see them more regularly, because not always are you going to have a rehearsal each week for shows. So it's just something fun to do. But when Abby reached out, I was like, absolutely. And then I also was helping run the chemistry club at that point. I think I was the president at that point, and I was also running the social media. I was doing like everything for that e-board. And so I said to Abby, I was like, we also need a really good social media, because I said, so we can get everything out there. You want to make sure people are coming to shows. So I also kind of took up that mantle and like started running that. And that was a really fun process. But yeah, like Abby said, there was still a lot of behind the scenes things of getting members together and everything that you needed to organize.
That's awesome. So you were kind of a part of the like initial stages of the Mac Believers before it was a thing. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Abby had the initial idea, and then she just she drew in like a good group of people that she knew would like help.
And then, so fast forward to when I did join in fall of 2021. So masks were lifted, luckily, and like you said, you remember my kind of first impression, stuff like that. But how did it feel like? More than just me, there's a lot of newbies, I feel like, that year, right? That kind of were ready to join either at open rehearsal or at the first audition. Like, how did it feel to see that like new kind of wave of students come in?
I loved the whole open rehearsal thing, because I feel like even though a good amount of those people didn't end up auditioning, I think they did it just for the fun of it. And I think that kind of comes down to the core reason that Abby started the club, is just for people to have fun and love improv. So it was just a really nice moment to see people who would have never done it otherwise. Like, we started doing games, and I don't know if you remember, but there were people who were sitting in the audience who weren't going to participate. They were just there to like support their friends. And they were like, wait, actually, I want to do it. Yeah. And that was just kind of a cool moment to literally see like theater and improv like move people to want to be involved. And it's kind of like you're starting to see it move beyond like your grassroots campaign of what you wanted to get started. So I kind of loved that moment. It also was interesting because like even though I didn't know a lot about improv, it was also interesting to see how much I had learned just in a semester of like the rules and like what you do, what not to do. And again, Abby was a very good teacher on all of the things, because it was just interesting. You would have to help guide the scene for people who maybe didn't know, because it's not obvious to everybody who walks off the street. But it just was a really cool moment to kind of start to see the club evolve before our eyes.
Totally.
Yeah. a lot of it when things started expanding was very exciting for me, but also I was also trying to figure out how do I kind of not necessarily teach, but like lead and guide the group, because I was working with, I'd taken a lot of improv classes as a kid. I had a theater mentor, Rista Rest, who I always shout out. She was incredible. She taught a lot of the improv classes. So I was working with that experience and the one semester of improv I did with the divers. And the good thing was they used the first semester with anyone coming in to teach about improv principles and really do like almost like improv 101 boot camp for most of the semester. So I learned a lot about different improv concepts and like game and questioning and different things. So I was able to apply a lot of that as best as I could, but it's also like nerve-wracking because you're like, I hope I know enough to kind of guide this group. I hope I know enough to lead this sort of thing, while also trying to make sure that the management pieces are in place. But seeing everyone at open rehearsal was also something I stole from the divers. But it's a great concept because, I mean, some people don't want to have to commit to a whole semester of, or not even a whole semester, but like most of college, if you stick with it, of rehearsals every Sunday, performing in shows. Some people don't love that kind of thing, and that's okay. But maybe they just want to hang out with people they know are in the group or meet new people and just play some games and figure out if they like it or not. And I think that's a really good opportunity for people who are interested. And we had a huge turnout for our first open rehearsal, at least huge in terms of the improv world.
Right.
And it was amazing to see. I was so excited about that. And auditions, we were lucky because we got a lot of really great people. So we had to choose. That also was hard, but it was really great.
Let's dive into that while we're on it. Like, how did you feel about turning people away? Because I feel like that's the worst part about theater. You want to accept everyone. You wish you could just have a massive group of everyone involved. But like, what was that process like? Deliberating of like, who do we have to say goodbye to, sadly, and just kind of lightly say, not this year. How was that?
I don't want to talk for too long, but Krista knows that I like physically convulse whenever I have to like cut people.
Yeah.
I am like so insufferable about it whenever we do auditions. It's one of the hardest things for me, especially as someone who's also in education. You never want to exclude anybody. But at some point the group gets too big and you just can't. Exactly. So a lot of what we looked for actually isn't what people think, because there's improv skill, but the big things are adaptability. Like if I gave you a note, or if I said, ooh, maybe you should try this next time, do you adapt to that? And also, do you accept the world of the scene that somebody else is presenting to you? Because if someone says the sky is purple and you're like, no, it's pink, you're grinding the scene to a halt. And that's going to continue to bite you in the end, in the future. We also looked for people who, there's a concept called bulldozing, where you want to be unintentionally 90% of the time, you want to be like the lead of the scene, or like you are almost like overperforming so that your scene partner is overshadowed. Improv is truly a partnership. So people who bulldozed and also were not adaptable, oftentimes we had to be like, okay, well, will this person try to overshadow everyone in scenes? Because that's not helpful to the group. Right. And obviously people who like say no 90% of the time in improv scenes, or maybe just need a little more practice before they get into this. Yeah. But it's so hard to cut people. It's so hard.
I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
It's also kind of an interesting position to be in because, both Abby and I have done theater and continue to do theater, and I haven't gotten into every show that I auditioned for. So it's kind of a weird feeling to be on the other side of the table, but I also feel like it's very educational because you start to see, okay, maybe that's why I didn't get that certain one. Or like sometimes it's not, you're saying this person's bad, but maybe they're just not ready, or they're not comfortable with the new rules of improv, the way that maybe they think it should run. But definitely, I think that it was difficult at times, but I think kind of the criteria that we set up early for ourselves, it was a little bit easier to move through. Like it was difficult as far as saying no to people, but I think that we felt good about our decisions. And I think too, it was kind of nice because I think it wasn't the harshest way either to reject someone, because it was sort of a low stakes audition. Right. So I just think it was a little bit easier, but I know Abby really struggled with it. It was tough for me too, but I think it was a little bit easier when we set down the ground rules of what we're looking for rather than just, I didn't like this one person's bit, so I don't want them in. Like, it wasn't absolutely like that at all. It was like Abby said, it was just looking for change, for if they were bulldozing, could they work with other people? Because that's also very important, is if you don't have people that work well together, even if they're funny on their own, it's not a stand-up bit. You need to be able to work as a club.
Yeah. Well said. Let's talk about the show. Like, how did it feel to have an audience that are not improv people that went to see a show and saw us perform our kind of weird bits and stuff?
It is terrifying. I think every time you put on a show for improv, it is scary because you don't know how people are going to react. Yep. You don't know what people are going to say, especially when you ask for suggestions. I remember our first show, we got a couple raunchier suggestions. We were like, okay, we need to kind of like warm people up next time. But I remember the first show being awesome. We had a really good crowd from what I remember, and they laughed a lot, and I thought it was a really great experience. I think we tried really hard to make sure that people got the games that they wanted to play. I think we were still doing sign-up sheets at that point. So those worked pretty well because people got to pick what they wanted to do. That's how we did it in Divers. We've changed it up a little bit recently, but it worked really well. And we had such a good time. I just remember having such a good time.
It was fun. Krista, what about you?
I wasn't there.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, the show that you were but, you were at least one.
Yeah. I was at Hades Town, which was so much fun.
Yes, true.
Yes. But I do remember the first show that I was a part of, like Abby said, like, it's very daunting having to do comedy in front of a new audience, because I feel like even though it like can be stressful at rehearsal, you start to get to know the other members who maybe aren't part of the scene. So sometimes it is a little bit easier to put in bits that you know will do well with the crowd that you're familiar with. Whereas I feel like an audience, usually you don't know most of the people there. It's usually like other family members or maybe just random people that came in. And I think that's kind of difficult because you have to like figure out pretty quickly what the temperature is, because you also want to keep their interest, So I think that's so important. But I think that we figured it out pretty quickly. A little bit goes back to your whole thing of validation, because when you hear a laugh like, I'm funny, like it's just the best feeling, because it's spontaneous. It's something you just came up with. No one else wrote it, and you're not forcing the person to laugh unless it's your mom. Then maybe,
True.
Hello.
Yeah. Abby, I hate to say it, but you are kind of nearing the end of your journey as a Merrimack student. So let's talk about those feelings and how you're feeling about it wrapping up. And then Krista, you can talk about, since you've been through it, like kind of maybe any advice for Abby that you have, or anything that you kind of looking back on it now, like with perspective of it was hard, but then talk about it from now.
Graduating is rough, man. There's so much. I feel like a lot with student teaching, I've been trying to really get in the mindset of, as much as I'm teaching, I'm still a college student and I've still got a semester left. I'm still trying to kind of find my way. I just got cast in my last show. So that's really exciting. Mac Believers is like bigger and better than ever. Our shows last year, like in the spring especially, our Star Wars show had like insane turnout. So we were thrilled with that. And we've just continued to grow as a group. And it's really hard to be at that place of like, oh, we're in exponential growth. And then I'm like, oh, deuces. It's like, oh, okay. I'm not going to be able to lead this future coming growth. But it's kind of interesting as a senior to watch people coming up like underneath you. Like all the underclassmen that I know now that I can't believe I didn't know 2 years ago. Like people that I'm really good friends with that I wouldn't have known them from Adam on the street, like 3 years ago. So in that sense, I'm kind of glad because I'll be able to visit and I'll still see those people that I care about so much that I'm really glad that I know at this point. And it's definitely scary going into the future, it's unpredictable and that's part of life. But I'm really excited, especially to get started with teaching because I love working with kids so much. So in that sense, I'm really excited to like start a classroom and be a teacher. But in the other sense, it's like I won't see these incredible people that I know all the time. And that's kind of a lot to deal with. But it's bittersweet. It's a lot of mixed feelings. So I'm kind of sorting everything out as I go through the last semester with all the craziness.
That makes sense. Krista, do you have any words of wisdom?
Hit me with your advice, Krista Brown.
No pressure.
But I mean, I know you're doing great, and I think you're doing everything right. I know that in my last semester, I felt a little bit in urgency to get involved in as many things as I could, because I think I just loved my experience so much. So I think it's wonderful that obviously you're at the helm for Mac Believers, but then on top of that, you're in the show. And I think it's just a matter of not counting down how much time you have left, but embracing the time. So I think that kind of was like a big thing for me, is I tried not to focus on, okay, I only have like 2.5 months left in this. The only thing that was tough, which Abby, you spoke on, is that feeling of uncertainty, because around this time, I didn't know if I was in a PhD program or not yet. So that was like a big component on what is happening after I graduate, or do I start applying to master's programs? What am I doing? You know, and there was like this big fork in the road for me, because I briefly considered, then if I didn't get in, maybe then I go the English route, and then maybe I go for my English PhD, or maybe I, you know, and it was like this feeling of like, oh my gosh, this is it. And now I have to really start making decisions. But I feel like there's an excitement in that too.
I don't know. I love, like, these kind of deep talks are my favorite. So I'm so glad that we kind of got to dive into it a little bit more. But I want to switch gears to our last game. It's called 60 Second Showdown. And this game is hopefully fun. I'm hoping. I've never played it before, but I thought of it and I was like, I'm just going to try it. So the way it works is that I'll let 60 seconds on the timer, and I'm going to give a category of some sort. And then Krista or Abby, whoever I decide that round, will say something that fits in that category. And then the next person will say something, and just alternate until the 60 seconds are up. And then whoever was still thinking, the other person will get a point. So it's like, it's competition.
Concentration 64. Did you ever play that hand game?
I did, yes. It is very similar to that. But no clapping, obviously, because we're on a screen. But, you know, very similar to that. And I have to say, all of these rounds are going to be Disney themed, because I think we're all kind of Disney fanatics. So I'm hoping, like I said, it goes well. I have the timer here, so obviously you won't be able to see it, but I think that makes it better. So you're not like stressed about like how much time is left. And I'll just say stop, and then you'll have to stop. So we'll get that started. Abby, why don't you start this round? And when you're ready, you can say the first thing that pops in your brain, and then Krista will go right after, and then we'll just, obviously no repeating, either no repeats, because that would be cheating. So the first round is movies that include singing, and the characters have to be singing in the movie.
Oh, singing. I was like, I thought you said movies that include scenes, and I was like, all of them.
Singing. And it's like the characters are actually singing. It's not just like background music, like actually singing. And it can be animated or not. And go.
Enchanted.
Disenchanted.
Moana.
Princess and the Frog.
Tangled.
Frozen.
Cinderella.
Frozen 2.
You're a fan.
The Lion King.
Alice in Wonderland.
The Lion King 2.
Oh my God. Of course.
Pride. Excuse you. Don't forget the tagline. Snow White.
Beauty and the Beast.
Oliver and Company.
Pinocchio.
Did we do Little Mermaid?
No.
Okay, cool. Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid 2.
Little Mermaid 3. There is one.
Ooh, okay. Aladdin.
Aladdin 2. There is one.
It's up.
Oh no.
Everyone that round.
Hey, yo.
Nice job. I should have clarified no sequels, but oh well.
Okay.
That's
well,
okay.
Next round.
Yeah, I wouldn't even thought of it, but the fact that there were so many, I was like, okay. Oh well, still good. This one, hopefully there's no sequels. It's Krista, you're gonna start. And this one is Disney attractions or rides at Disney World or Disneyland.
Splash Mountain.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Haunted Mansion.
The mine cart. There's no white in the door of mine cart.
Peter Pan's Flight.
The People's Mover.
Yeah, the People's Mover. It's a Small World.
Did you already say the Peter Pan?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Oh no. The Aladdin carpet ride.
Nice.
Yeah. Rock and Roller Coaster.
That's not right, is it? Teacups.
Good.
That was on my brain. Philhar Magic.
Okay.
Or the safari ride.
Nice.
What did you say?
The safari ride.
Oh, okay. Jungle Cruise.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Krista.
The roller coaster with the Yeti, but I don't know the name of it.
Oh, darn it. Heads up.
Yeah.
Everest.
I was like, Abby, you've gone so many times. I've been twice.
Krista, we need to go. We'll go together.
For sure. Go in April.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going in April. I'm so excited. So Abby takes that round too. 2-0. Okay, this one hopefully is a little bit fair. It's not about the parks, but Abby will start. Disney princesses.
Ooh, okay. Do I start?
Yes.
Okay. Moana.
Ariel.
Cinderella.
Jasmine.
Sleeping Beauty. Aurora.
Yeah.
Belle.
Pocahontas.
Tiana.
Rapunzel.
Moana.
Already said.
Oh, I'm sorry. Elsa.
Anna.
Was Cinderella already said?
I think so.
Cinderella's already said. Princess. Because Pocahontas is said.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Giselle.
Good one.
Morgan.
Oh, okay.
Relax. Vanellope, if we're going there.
Okay.
I feel like we're missing a big one.
Yeah. It's time.
Did we already say Tiana?
You said Tiana.
But Tiana Love.
I don't even remember.
That's okay. That's it.
Yeah.
That's time. I also feel like we're missing one, but I can't think of any more.
All I can think of is Merida, but I feel like we're missing someone that's not Merida.
Oh.
I don't know. I'll find out in post and put it on the screen right now. Ooh, I can't believe this one. What do we think? Was that fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I was like, it's kind of fun, but I've never been able to do it. So I'm glad that we did it.
Krista, next time we'll do books and you can like smoke me.
Oh my god. It'll just be Pride and Prejudice characters.
Yeah, then you'd be the winner hands down.
All right, so to wrap up, I was thinking I do this every time with my guests, and it involves more alliteration because, again, I love alliteration. But it's 3 thankful thoughts. So things that you're thankful for at this moment in time. Sometimes they're literal things. Some people say like iced coffee, something random, or it's like a meaningful thing. I don't know. So it's kind of up to you guys. And I'll let you decide if you have 3 things each, you can do it that way, or if you just want to do 3 things together. I don't really know, but whatever you kind of feel like.
Do you want to start, Krista?
Sure. I would say I'm thankful for you both because I loved doing this whole thing. It was really nice, and I don't get to see you as often as I would like. So that's always fun. I would say that I am thankful for being able to be a part of a show again because I'm getting to meet new people, which is always really nice, and see also very different acting styles and kind of learn different ways because it's always interesting to impart upon other people and also have them reflect things on you. And I'd say for a third thing that I'm thankful for, honestly, I'm just thankful that my car is somewhat running. Because it was like a 2004 and it just needs to get me to the train station. Like that's the bare minimum. And I'm thankful for that.
I love that. Same though. My car's a 2006, so I can relate. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right, so Abby, you have to do 3 things because Krista did. Go for it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for my support system recently, especially since, like I said, I was going through a pretty stressful time. I'm really grateful for all my friends and my family who've been very supportive and kind of helped me out, and it's been really nice. I'm really thankful for my students. I feel like teaching is my big personality, but they make like the hard days really worth it, and it's the whole point of why you do what you do, you know. And I would say I'm also grateful for the place that I live and like the school that I go to. I feel like I'm very lucky to live in a very nice location. I know people hate snow, understandable, but I've always said like I'd rather take snow than like another natural disaster. So like I love where I live and I love my community. So I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome. Awesome. And that does remind me, I meant to say this earlier when we were like giving you advice and stuff, but you do have a support system around you. I hope you know that too. Like both of you do, obviously. Like if you ever feel like you're alone and you don't know what you're doing, just reach out to someone, family, friends, whoever it is that you trust. They'll be happy to help you. So, and I know you have 2 friends right here, whoever I'm talking to. There's 2 of us.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying. Good. For this one, we will divide and conquer. So it's 2 today takeaways. So anything that we did today, I want you to kind of like reflect on. So just kind of take a minute, however long you need. And Krista can share one thing that she took away from today, and then Epi will share one too, whenever you're ready.
I think my takeaway is if I don't warm up before an improv game, I go on rambling sentences very quickly. And it gets get wild.
Amazing. Perfect.
Oh my God, I love that. I would say my takeaway is I have 2 very eloquent friends. Like you guys would come out with like really interesting and like very well phrased ideas, and I'm like, oh, let me speak in my week of teaching. This is my weekend day voice, and I'm like, oh my God, I have such eloquent friends who speak so beautifully.
Right back at you, Abby. You're eloquent too.
Yeah.
Don't you worry. Good. And then the last thing is an ounce of optimism. So it's just, I want both of you to do this, and not just one for both of you, but both of you think of like a lasting encouragement to anyone that's watching. Try to like validate them, whatever they're going through, like just some inspiration if you have it to sprinkle in their day.
I would say that the good days always make the hard days worth it. I think that you'll always have enough good days that will outweigh the bad ones, and you can find people that will help you get through the bad ones. So keep your good days in your pocket so that you can always think of them.
Love that. That's so cute.
I think also I am a strong believer in sort of everything happens for a reason, because I think there have sometimes been things in my life where, like when I was in the thick of it, I was either super stressed or I just couldn't understand why it was happening. And then it was like at a certain amount of time, you know, you can't put a certain limit on when things are going to start coming together for you or start making sense. But I do often look back and at least know what I can take from that situation. Maybe the situation itself wasn't the best, but I always try to at least take a part of that with me to improve something, or like Abby was saying, to then make those good days even better, because I know I wasn't within that anymore, or that it was a redirection that I didn't think that I needed until now I find myself on this new path, and it's amazing. And I wouldn't have thought of it myself. So I almost needed that push.
Awesome. Well said. Like Abby said, so eloquent, so like put together, both of you. I feel inspired. I just hope that anyone that's watching also feels the same inspiration of like, I can do this. I'm okay. I got this, and move on with a smile, hopefully. I also commend anyone that has made it this far in the podcast, because I like podcasts for an extent, but then I'm also like, do I have to watch the whole thing? Like it depends on the day kind of thing. So whoever's watching, congrats to making this far.
Shout out to you.
I know, right? Shout out to you. Thank you, Krista and Abby. I really do appreciate you guys like spending the hour and a half with me, because we are so busy. We understand that, but the fact that we were able to find time to like sit down and do this, it just makes me so happy, and like catch up for one, but also just have a little fun, because that was an awesome time. So I'm glad you guys could join me for this afternoon. So thank you again, viewers. Like I said, like if you made it this far, you're a true fan, but also just thank you for clicking on today's video. I hope you found some joy out of what we said. I always have a question of the day for my viewers if they're willing to comment down below. I know, right? I'm like engaging and stuff. But so the question is, I want you guys to tell us a story about how you met your friends. So we kind of talked about how we all met. but let's talk about how you met one of your friends. And you can shout out one of your friends, just randomly be like, I met this person at this place. And then we can just connect in the comments and stuff like that. As always, you can email me at thevalidatingpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions or want to be a guest, you can contact me that way. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel. I also have an Instagram account called The Validating Channel that I post things. I've been posting weekly reels, fun fact, and it's a lot of fun. And they're not always like the most thought out or whatever, but I just have fun making them. So if you are looking for something to do, follow that account and spread some joy like I'm doing right now, hopefully. And again, I appreciate my two friends here. Thank you for joining me. And I appreciate everyone that's watching. Stay validating, whatever that means to you. I hope to release more episodes like this in the near future. And I appreciate you watching. Thanks, everyone. Bye.